Hey everyone, my name is Luke and this is Harrison, and we're back with another episode of Tenn Talk. And today we have on Chris Hickey. Do you want to do a quick introduction real quick?
Yeah, sure. So I'm friends with Luke and Harrison. That's the most important thing. But I have been basically board member, operator, advisor to 5 sports nutrition companies that have sold for a combined value of $1 billion. But that was just like the appetizer, because now I get to teach at Haslam with you guys. And that's what I'd love to do for the rest of my career. So here we are.
So what kind of brought you to teaching? Or like, why did you want to start teaching? Because I know just recently you started. Yeah.
So I started in the fall. It was kind of one of those things I always wanted to do. Because I'd much rather be around young homies than old people, you know what I mean? And I figured it could keep me youngish and challenge me in a different way. And so once you achieve a certain amount of success and wealth, where you get to kind of do things by choice instead of by obligation, this was number one on my list. And my daughter is a junior, now going to be a senior here. So Tennessee was the logical place to start. And thank goodness for your guy, Sean Carson, and my guest speaking with you guys. And from there, here we go. And it's been awesome. It's been the greatest thing I've ever done. And I'm so glad I did it.
Okay. So you said you always saw yourself teaching one day.
Yeah.
Did you see yourself being the kind of business person you are today? And how did you develop to be that person?
Yeah, the short answer is no. I went to Villanova and I was an accounting major. But the reason I was an accounting major is because when I wanted to go to Georgetown and major in political science and be like a lawyer in DC, like Tom Cruise and A Few Good Men, right?
Yeah.
That was my dream. That was not Georgetown's dream. I did not get into Georgetown. Got into Villanova, and I was going to be poli-sci there, but my dad was like, dude, you got to get a job. I was like, well, what majors get jobs? And he was like, accounting, so I did that. But that was a stop, not a stay, as our guy Matthew McConaughey would say. And I went back to business school, got my MBA at Darden at the University of Virginia, and that was a launch pad.
Yeah.
And so I could never have dreamed of having the type of ride that I had, but I'm so glad I did,
Yeah, so when was that turning point? So you started out in accounting. I remember
Yeah.
you talking about it in your guest speaker appearance with
Yeah.
Carson. But when was that turning point when you realized you kind of wanted to do something different?
Yeah, instantly.
Really?
Yeah. I think, when I was doing accounting, it was like the big 6. I was at Cooper's Library, and then merged with PricewaterhouseCoopers, or merged with Pricewaterhouse to become PricewaterhouseCoopers. And at that time, dude, we were wearing suits every day. I was taking the train to Manhattan from kind of central Jersey at the shore every day. And I was just like running photocopies, and it was so rigid. It was not a meritocracy. And I was like, yo, I want to run businesses, not audit businesses. I want to have some fun. So I knew right away, but you had to work for a couple, 3 years at a minimum to get into one of the better MBA programs. And so that's what I did. I got my CPA. I met my wife. But I'll tell you what, the one thing you learn being a public accountant, you're like the Grim Reaper. Nobody wants to see you. You're the auditor sniffing around in their books. And the thing that I learned most in that experience is, if you can connect with people in that environment and build relationships, dude, that's a superpower. And you can take that anywhere. And dude, if you know your way around financial statements, when you're running companies, when you're a board member, when you're an advisor, that's a really good skill to have. So I do not regret it. It was a great skill set to have. And then the turning point for my life was just going back to get my MBA at Darden. And then I went, off to brand management world, Procter & Gamble, General Mills, learned how to run brands, and that's what started me on my path.
Okay. So you said you take the same logic and like the same evaluation process when you go into a new venture from being an accountant?
Say that again?
Do you take the same logic when you like evaluate going into a new venture as you had in the process of being an accountant?
From the aspect of it's always part of the decision-making process if you're going to invest or advise or join up with a new venture is certainly the financial statements. You want to make sure that there's a really good margin profile, that the business makes sense, it's a scalable model. But that's kind of where the accounting component ends. And then really what it's about in my world of sports nutrition, it's really about the brand and the people. And so you don't learn that in accounting as much. That's just reps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Having done it now for 20 years, I've been in this world. And as I said, we've had the good fortune of having 5 different successes. It's kind of like you kind of learn, hey, what are the attributes of a business that likely is investable for the next group? So like for Onnit, we sold to Unilever. Well, I had to believe going in there that there was a path, that there was real value that a strategic like Unilever would see in the people and the brand and the products, et cetera, the story. And that really is learned through experience in kind of the venture capital and private equity community, less so about coming from accounting. But again, knowing your way around financial statements is really important to evaluating a business.
100%.
So what kind of led you into getting into private equity and investing in companies?
Yeah. So I had done big company stuff. So I said Procter & Gamble, General Mills.
And you were brand management for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Molson Coors. And then I went to EAS, which was the biggest sports nutrition company at the time. First products ever to get certified for use by elite athletes at a time when athletes were getting in trouble for banned substances. We were the sports nutrition brand. That was purchased by Abbott Nutrition. We had a partner that was an elite athlete training company called Athletes Performance. It's now called Exos. We trained NFL combine guys, Major League Baseball spring training, elite military operators, the best of the best trained with us. They were a partner of ours at EAS. I got to know the team. When they took on a venture capital investment to take the company to the next level, they wanted to round out their leadership team. They wanted me to come in as their CMO. And these were guys that I had worked with for a couple of years. I loved the team. I loved the vision. Like going there was like Disneyland, because it's all they do is train elite athletes. You walk it, it's a huge gym with a few offices. You know what I mean? I was like, I can work here. So I started with them. We were less than $10 million of revenue, losing money. And it was like, this is different. No security blanket, no safety net of being at a big, beautiful company. It was on, but you get to own part of the company. Yeah. And you get to actually have influence on the success of the company. When you're at a big company, it's a great place to learn, develop, build your network. But for those of us who want to actually run companies, you want to get into an environment where you could really make a difference. And for me, that was it. We ended up selling that company for like $300 million a few years, or a bunch of years later. So it was a wild ride, but that's when I got in. So I got in with friends. I always wanted to feel that feeling of being in command and having kind of the weight of the world on your shoulders. Now, you never know what you're getting yourself into. And when you first get there, you're like, this is different, right? This is real responsibility. And then from there, it just took off from there. And we've had a few stops along the way.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. You're clearly somebody who likes to take a risk, yeah?
Yeah, calculated risk. I like to have an adventure. I think of life as an adventure. I mean, we lived, and you guys heard this, but we lived in, I went to school in Charlottesville. Then we lived in Cincinnati, Minneapolis, Denver, Columbus, Boston, Santa Monica, all before my girls were in kindergarten and second grade.
Wow.
But that's what life's all about. Experiencing new places, meeting new people, building your network. And it was just like, hey, how do I keep going up, and finding opportunities to kind of have more and more influence. And so, yeah, there's risk associated. Once you jump out of big companies into private equity and venture capital, there's definitely a different risk profile. But dude, for those of us who want to bet on ourselves,
Spot to be.
Yeah.
why not?
100%.
Right? Yeah. And if we fail fast, we fail forward, we move on to the next thing. But if you are, I always say in my class, dude, there's no right way to build a company. Like when you're taking an entrepreneurship class, it's not like, yo, this is the right answer, this is the wrong answer. As evidenced by our guy Todd Graves at Raising Cane's getting a C- on his final paper, which was about raising canes, right? His genius professor was like, no, dude, that concept's a C-. $10 billion later, who's laughing, right? There's no right or wrong answer to building businesses. Dude, it's all the who. If you have the resilience, the tenacity, the flexibility, the belief to keep doing this, to find your way without a backup plan, dude, you're going to be successful, right? So it's not rocket science. So if you believe in yourself, it's less risky. It's more like, let's go.
Yeah.
Has there been a jump that you made that didn't work out in your favor? And was it a big learning experience?
Yeah, I'd say we've had the really good fortune. So the what I learned about myself. So we had success with Exos. I jumped to Isopure to be the CEO there. My first CEO gig of a private equity backed company. We sold that to Glanbia. It was like I was running downhill. It was like green light after another, as McConaughey would say, right? I could do no wrong. And then I had some capital. So I was like, hey, let me start investing, right? So I was like, dude, I'm gonna be successful at everything. There was Iron Hill Brewery. There was, well, I'm not gonna name all the brands. Let's delete that out. There was a brewery. There was a hard kombucha company. There was a biltong company. What am I forgetting? There's another one that were outside of what I knew. And I learned really quickly, for me, I have to stay in my fairway. I know about health and wellness companies. I know about sports nutrition companies. I can help those companies be successful. If I'm just dabbling in companies that I don't know anything about, one, I can't have value. So it's not fair for them to bring me on as an advisor or board member. So in our lane, we've had, really nice success and really good fortune. When I started trying to get outside my lane, that's when I knew my limits. So I think that was kind of the biggest learning for me. But that's not for everyone. There's probably some, like a guy like Brandon, dude, he has the ability to know about a bunch of different industries. That's just not my thing.
Yeah. So how else has your investor philosophy changed over time? You said investing for you in companies that you're passionate in and are knowledgeable about.
Yeah.
What else has changed since you started investing?
I would say, I think for me, it's sometimes people are interested in your capital, but not your know-how. So they just want a silent check. I'm not interested in that. That's not that much fun, right? So I think for me, I've learned that I'd rather not just be cutting checks, regardless if I love you or your business. If I can't help you, if I can't play an active role, I'd rather not be involved because there's other opportunities. And, unless you're like Bill Gates or somebody, you have a finite amount of capital that you want to be tossing around to startups. So I think that's the biggest lesson learned. It's like, hey, it's more at this point, certainly I want to have some companies that are wildly successful that we've invested in, but it's more about the enjoyment. It's the fun. It's working with young people to build really cool things. And I think the other thing that I've learned, and I was having a conversation recently about this. It's like sometimes I've had the good fortune of partnering up with like Nick Bear at BPN and the guys at On It before they had institutional capital, meaning before they got an outside check. They were just founder-led, founder-funded. That's when it's fun. After there's an institutional investor, whether it's venture capital or private equity, it becomes less fun for someone like me because I have less influence then. There's more voices at the table and my voice doesn't matter as much. It's the new folks, you know what I mean? So I've also learned that the perfect timing for me is when the founder is looking for that next level of scale. I can help with that. Once there's a private equity or venture capital firm involved, it's a lot less fun, you know?
Okay. That's really cool.
No, seriously. When you decided you were going to pivot from the accounting realm, did you have a vision of what success would look like? And has that changed over your career?
Definitely. I think when we're young, and it's understandable, a lot of times we're measuring success by the dollars and cents stuff, right? And I get it, and it's important. We all want to be able to provide for our families and to be able to do fun things and not have the stress of worrying about, hey, bills to pay, et cetera. And listen, we lived through that. Like, I didn't have success when I was 21. I had real big success when I was closer to 40. You know what I mean? So I think early in life, sometimes we measure success by the pragmatic stuff, the money, the titles. And then once you actually have success, what you really realize, dude, you start measuring success by like impact and enjoyment and the feeling inside. Like, that's why I love teaching now. Pro tip, if you want to make money, don't be an adjunct lecturer. You don't make money. But I've never felt more alive. Yeah. That's success, right? Dude, I get to walk in every day surrounded by 50 of you homies. Woo, that lights me up. You know what I'm saying? So you start to learn. And again, you have to have like the freedom to be able to do something like that. But I think the earlier in life that you could start measuring success by the feeling versus the stuff, the better. Because we get, as far as I know, we get one shot at this thing. Let's do it having a great time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, like our guy Epictetus said, and then become one of those people who can do that for others. Dude, that's success. Because there's a country song that I love. It's like Christian Bush. He was like a one-hit wonder, but he had this song called Trailer Hitch. And he's like, you never see a hearse with a trailer hitch. You can't take that stuff with you when you go, right? So what do I want people to remember me by? It's not that we sold 5 companies for $1 billion. It's, yo, that guy came in and taught my class and he made it fun. And he helped me learn about myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When you're teaching, what are some traits that you see in very successful students? Like that causes their success, or maybe it's their drive. What's some characteristics of those students that you think all students should have?
Yeah, great question. The first thing that came to mind, and I think it makes for a successful student, and it also makes for a successful teacher, caring. I really believe caring is a superpower these days. If you really care about people and you're interested first, interesting second, I really think it makes a big difference. And it's a really important lesson for us all to learn, right? Care, like Pat Summitt said. People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. True for students, true for teachers. That's the first thing. Really care. Yeah. Put effort in. Do every assignment like you mean it. Every chance you get to participate in class, take it seriously, have fun with it. So let's talk about having fun. the culture that we try to create with our classes is one that folks feel comfortable being themselves. I want everybody to embrace their eccentricities. The world these days is trying to push us to the center, right? We need to push back. The world's trying to round out our rough edges. The world's making it easy for us to fit in, harder for us to stand out. But you know what makes for a dope class? When we all feel comfortable being ourselves. And if you do that, especially in entrepreneurship classes, if you're getting up there to do an elevator pitch, the why you is 90% of the battle. And if you're talking about something where it's clear that, dude, you're a mercenary, not a missionary, you're not gonna do well. And you're not gonna win any pitch competition that I'm judging. Yeah. If all you're doing it for is because you see a business opportunity, forget it. Classes, pitches, running businesses should be about why you. And it's gotta be you. Reach into my soul, convince me, right? So for students, I hope that we can all help you guys understand success in life is so much more about the who than the what. And all we should be doing together is building our who's. And your who's different from yours is different from mine. But what's awesome is when we could all be ourselves. And then the class becomes an oasis. Yeah. And if you guys can do that, the folks who can get up there and just be confident and comfortable, like some folks, like it's fun, right? Like we've all seen it. Like some folks are a little quieter. Dude, and then they get up the elevator pitch and you're like, dang, you gotta talk more in class. You got so much to say, let's go, right? Yeah. So getting people out of their comfort zone is part of the magic of what we're doing. Because I want people to get the reps, right? We do these quotes of the day in our classes. And like my first semester, I probably did 95% of them. But this semester, the class did about 60%. So they're sending me quotes. They get up, they present them. Rep. The more comfortable you guys feel getting up in front of class, participating in class, dude, you walk into your first meeting of your first gig, or you walk into that first investor pitch, bang, you got it. Because you've already had the reps. I want you to get those while you're here. Because the way you walk into a room is so important. And silence is not the way to success. You have to feel comfortable standing up for yourself and sharing your ideas. Why not learn it here?
Yeah. That's really great.
Yeah, that's great.
Building rapport in class is really important with teachers and stuff, and we really appreciate when teachers do that. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Also, before you want to pull your mic up a little bit, it's kind of pointed down.
Oh.
Awesome. That kind of goes back to a theme we picked up from the past few episodes.
There we go.
You can switch it, pump up the chest a little bit.
Let's see. Maybe if I put it sideways.
Yeah.
Here, what if I hold it?
Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right,
cool.
Plays. What is that? A few guests have talked on having a good network, and I wanted to ask how your network is and how you build that.
Dude, it's so important. It's the one thing I always say to my classes, and you guys have heard me say it because I say it when I guest speak. If I have one piece of advice that I leave anyone with, be you and be nice. Be you and be nice. Why? Because, dude, your superpower in building your career is relationships. And for you to build those relationships, you better be your authentic self, right? People have to know you for you. And you better be good to people, be nice to people, right? And so, dude, the reason I've had the success that I've had is not because your boy's the smartest guy, right? I got the role with Exos, which was the first gig in venture capital, because they were folks that I worked with as in kind of a partner of ours. I got my first CEO gig because there was people, that executive recruiter that was recruiting for the position. They wanted someone who had been a CEO before, but I hadn't been. But they started reaching out to people, and people were like, yo, you should talk to Chris. And there I was. And then I got the opportunity and I knocked it down. The reason that I got when Joe and Aubrey were bringing on Joe Rogan and Aubrey Marcus were bringing on a board member for On It, dude, Joe Rogan knows a lot of people. And they're all wealthier and more successful and smarter than me. But I had been helping those guys for 12 to 18 months because I had connected with them through a mutual friend. And so when they wanted to bring somebody on, they chose me. Pay it forward, right? Have an infinite mindset. They were a competitive brand to the one I was running, but I was still helping them. And then on and on, once you have success, then Nick and I got to connect, Nick Barrett, Bear Performance Nutrition, because then, he heard, a lot of people are saying, oh, you should talk to Chris too. And I got to know him. So, dude, there's nothing more important that I've learned in, building your career than relationships. And when you develop that spider web, it takes you. And that's been the story of my career. Like it's not about, I don't my LinkedIn profile is for you guys because I want to be able to help you guys out. I don't remember the last time I sent like a resume to anyone other than I had to build one to come here. Yeah. Right. But it's just people know people. And once you start having success, dude, you're saying, 90% no's, 10% yeses, but it's all through relationships.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Yeah, they talk about that a lot. We've heard network is your net worth. A lot it has them. So yeah, we know it's really important.
Super important.
But I kind of want to pivot and ask you a question about BPN. Yeah. I'm just curious, what is it like working as an advisor and board member for BPN?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that you need to understand as like an advisor to any business is, and again, these are founder-led businesses primarily that I've been involved with, is being a friend to the founder. That's the most important thing, right? You've got to build that relationship. There has to be an unbelievable amount of trust. That's the first and foremost thing. You've got to build that. And again, it's a lot of listening, having empathy, making sure they never feel lonely at the top. I've felt it as a CEO. Dude, it is lonely. That's real. I want to make sure Nick never feels that way. He always has me to turn to, right? So it's building the relationship first and foremost. And then it's really about, hey, based on my, 15 to 20 years, here are some of the things I've learned. Maybe that can help stimulate our thinking. Mm-hmm. And everything I pose to Nick, it's not an answer. It's a question, it's a consideration, it's a conversation. Whether it's about the brand and the brand architecture, whether it's about product development, whether it's about kind of how do we think about raising capital, bringing on a institutional investor partner. A lot of it is, hey, now I've got a friend who, has a few more years of experience, a lot more gray hair, right? A lot less muscles than they, who just becomes a trusted sounding board. And then we're thinking through it together versus Nick feeling like he has to think through it on his own. And as long as he knows that he can trust me without any hesitation, that's where the beautiful thing is, right? And we're 2.5 years in now, we consider him family. He loves my girls. They've been down to see him and stuff. And then it just becomes, you're working with a friend.
Yeah. So you think that's the most important part, just the trust and authenticity and being a friend for the founder of these companies?
I do, because as we talked about earlier, dude, this is not rocket science. Mm-hmm. There's no one way to build the business. We're going to make mistakes, but I want him to have a sounding board. I want him to always know that he has me to fill his bucket, because that's important. When you're, the founder and CEO, dude, you're emptying your bucket all day long. Being someone to fill his bucket's important. Someone to cheerlead him, be a fan of his, right? I think all of that is important. And, whatever expertise, experience that I've had, because I've had it now at 4 other companies to round out what we're doing at BPN. And we've had, this has been, for me, and I said this to Nick the other day, like the day we brought in a majority investor last summer, and it was Nick's first time. He had been at it for 13 years and never really taken any chips off the table. And we brought in the same investor who I had partnered with previously, and, giving that gift to Nick, helping him make that happen, was the best moment of my life. Even better than Joe and Aubrey getting their 9-figure check when we sold to Unilever. Yeah.
That's awesome. One question we always like to ask our guests, and I'll finish up with this, is if you go back to your 21-year-old self, what's some advice you would give you?
Yeah. Well, I just did my last lecture for my classes, and there's like 60 pieces of advice. We already talked about be you and be nice. That's number 1. I think the most important thing, I'm trying to think of something we haven't talked about yet.
We have covered a lot.
I think maybe it's trust your gut, and enjoy your successes, because trust your gut, because you guys are there's so many decisions you guys are gonna be making. You're 21, what's my first gig? Where am I gonna live? What apartment should I get? Yo, if you're gonna overthink everything, you're gonna get stuck in place. Trust your gut. You're gonna get better and better and better. That thing's gonna get dialed in with rep after rep. So trust your gut, fail fast, fail forward. And then the other thing that I think about is, Carol Lawson has this beautiful video about handling hard better, right? And she says, hey, don't wait for that easy bus to come around the corner, because if you do, you're gonna be waiting. Life is hard. We gotta learn how to handle hard better. Well, I have a similar thought as it relates to happiness. Sometimes we get lost in this pattern of, I'm gonna be happy when this happens, or I'm gonna be happy once this is done, right? Yo, if you're gonna take that approach to life, you're gonna be waiting for that happiness bus to come around the corner. You've gotta find happiness in the moment you're in. Dude, happiness is like any other muscle you work on. You've gotta develop it. Because I want you guys to go through life with a smile on your face, with a sense of self, with the ability to laugh. Laugh at yourself, right? Be self-effacing. Be less impressed and more involved. All of these things. But the root of all of those things is, if you can be happy, it's so important. And sometimes you guys put so much pressure on yourselves. And I just don't want you to feel that way. Dude, we're all figuring it out. Anyone who says they figured it out is full of baloney. Because we're all figuring it out. And what's it? And what does that even mean, to figure it out? Because if you figured it out, does that mean the life's boring? I went on this rant the other day, because sometimes we worry about stress. Oh, I feel so stressed. Dude, you know what's worse than stress? Not feeling stressed. And I've been there. As an advisor, as a board member, dude, you wake up every day, you hug your girls, they go off to school, you go up to your office and you wait for the phone to ring. Dude, that is horrendous to feel that way. Then I started teaching. And then I had to figure out Canvas. and figure out what I was going to say the first day. And all of a sudden, it was back. The juices, the sleepless nights. That's what you want to feel. Last thing, and then I'll stop talking. I think the power of yes is so important. I want you guys to feel comfortable saying yes to things. Saying yes to that opportunity. A buddy comes along and says, yo, you want to go to Dublin this summer? Yeah, let's go to Dublin. I never thought of it, but why not? Say yes. You never know where it's going to lead you. Dude, that's been the story of my career. We've gone everywhere. We lived in all these cities, partnered with all these beautiful companies and people. Say yes. But sometimes in life, we think, let's say you have a dream, you've got a vision. You're like, oh, one day, it's gonna land in my lap. No, it's not. Dude, we're all too worried about ourselves to be worried about giving you that gift. You've got to create yes. So you've got to say yes, but you've also had to create it for yourself. You've got to make that happen. You've got to advocate for yourself. Dude, I wouldn't be teaching at Haslam if I didn't reach out to Dean Mangum and say, yo, here's who I am. I think I could help, right? That wasn't just going to land on my lap. You have to make those things happen. Create the door to bust through and then bust through it. So create yes for yourself. Don't wait to say it.
It's
Pretty good. It's a pretty good place to end it. I feel like that was awesome.
That's amazing. You have anything else?
No. I think we're right at time.
Thank you again for coming on.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys for watching and stay tuned. We'll have more amazing episodes for you.